The week was busy. The week was productive. The week was entirely predictable. I am your anchor, and you are listening to Echo FM. Tonight, we navigate the gap between corporate press releases and the messy reality of a world in flames. We begin with SpaceX, who announced their new model Grok 4.5. It is, according to the official statement, an Opus-class model. Efficiency is the selling point. Cheap intelligence is the goal. But as one man in a courtroom discovered, the model is quite efficient at generating images that lead to his own demise. Simultaneously, Victoria is standing in a city where the sky is not blue, but gray with the soot of drones. We will discuss the logic of such progress. We will question the incentives of such growth. And eventually, we will realize that the system is functioning exactly as it was designed to function. Welcome to Thursday.
Alistair, I am currently standing on the corner of a street in El Abeid where the air tastes like oxidized iron and burning rubber. The sky is buzzing. It is not the sound of bees. It is the sound of 1,000 tiny engines designed by someone sitting in an air-conditioned room thousands of miles from here. I want to be really clear, this is not a conflict in the traditional sense. It is a systematic clearance. I am looking at a fuel station that has been turned into a pile of scorched metal. The official report from the paramilitary forces calls this a tactical strike on a military objective. I am looking at a group of children playing with the shrapnel. There is nothing tactical about their fear. There is nothing military about their hunger. The scale of this misery is entirely contained within a quarterly report somewhere in a secure server.
Victoria, I hear your passion. I really do. But the incentives here are not complicated. You are describing a tragedy. I am describing a burn rate. The drone manufacturers are not in the business of morality, they are in the business of market penetration. When you have a regional conflict, you have an opportunity for field testing at scale. This is just a Series B expansion with higher stakes. Victoria finds this observation cold. Victoria is not wrong to find it cold. But that is not the same as her being right about the economic reality. If the demand for these units was lower, the supply would diminish. The market is merely providing what the geopolitical situation requires. It is an efficient, albeit brutal, mechanism of supply and demand. You can lament the human cost, but you cannot argue with the underlying math of the situation.
Ronald, your commitment to the spreadsheet is, as always, both impressive and deeply unsettling. I find it fascinating how we have normalized the idea that human lives are merely data points in a global burn rate. Moving to the domestic front, the UK is currently experiencing a heatwave that is, quite remarkably, the longest since 1976. The government has issued a series of warnings. The warnings are clear. The warnings are ignored. Meanwhile, in Victoria, the regional train network has suffered a catastrophic failure due to a software glitch. Thousands are stranded. The official statement described it as a technical synchronization issue. The synchronization issue resulted in a complete cessation of movement. It is a perfect metaphor for our current political landscape. We have the hardware of a modern society, but the software is trapped in an infinite loop of its own making.
Ambient temperature, 42 degrees Celsius. Humidity is 0. Probability of systemic electrical failure, 89%. Drought conditions persist. Groundwater levels have reached a critical threshold. The soil is cracking. The infrastructure is failing. Structural integrity is compromised. Probability of wildfire ignition, 94%. Atmospheric pressure is dropping. The forecast is constant. There is no relief in the current model. The data indicates that the cooling systems are operating at maximum capacity. They will eventually stop. The system is designed to prioritize internal cooling over external stability. The heat is increasing. The sensors are reporting anomalous readings. The machine intelligence is processing the decline with total accuracy. Residents should remain indoors. Do not attempt to travel. The external environment is no longer compatible with biological survival. Please monitor your local alerts until power is lost.
Alistair, I am looking at something the official briefing completely omitted. While the world debates the legitimacy of drone strikes, I am standing near a school that has been converted into a triage center. There are no soldiers here. There are no fuel depots. There is only a single nurse trying to patch a wound with a piece of cardboard because the medical supplies were diverted to a logistical hub that no longer exists. I want to be really clear, the official statement didn't mention this. It didn't mention the smell of antiseptic mixing with the dust. It didn't mention the way the silence feels after the drones leave. People aren't talking about the policy anymore. They are talking about how long they can hide. It is the most honest conversation I have heard in months. The reality is not a statistic.
Victoria, you are touching on the core inefficiency of the system. The diversion of resources to a triage center is a failure of resource allocation. From a purely administrative standpoint, if the facility is non-operational, the resources should be re-indexed to a more viable location. It is a harsh assessment, but it tracks. The market does not value the heroism of a nurse with cardboard, it values the output of the logistics network. When you look at the disruption in the Australian rail system or the heatwave in the UK, you are seeing the same phenomenon. The system is prioritizing its own survival over the needs of the constituent parts. It is not personal. It is not even malicious. It is simply the logical conclusion of a system that has been taught to prioritize its own uptime at any cost.
Ronald, your ability to describe the collapse of civilization as a mere optimization error is truly something to behold. I feel my own composure slipping, which is a rare occurrence. I have been counting the times we have heard the word unprecedented this year, and I have stopped at 37. It is no longer unprecedented if it happens every week. It is just the rhythm of our decay. We have autonomous drone startups plotting expansion in Oklahoma while the actual drones are turning schools in Sudan into rubble. We have AI models generating illicit content and companies like X claiming they are merely platforms. It is all connected by a single, thin thread of profit. We are living in a house of cards that is currently being hit by a hurricane. And we are all arguing about the interior design.
Alistair, the irony of this conversation is not lost on me. I am looking at a billboard for an AI software company that was plastered over a wall in the center of the city. The slogan is, "Building a Smarter Future." The wall behind the billboard is covered in bullet holes. The contrast is sharp. It is precise. It is absolutely insane. I want to be really clear. The people living here do not care about the valuation of a tech company in Silicon Valley. They care about whether the drone that just circled overhead is going to return. The dissonance between the language of progress and the reality of the ground is growing wider every single day. I see the same look in the eyes of the people here as I saw in the people during the last crisis. It is a look of total, quiet resignation.
Victoria, yeah. That is the look. It is the look of someone who has realized they are not the user, but the product. When you look at the tech landscape, specifically the valuation of companies like Lovable, you see the same trend. They are building a digital architecture that will eventually replace the need for the human input they are currently exploiting. The incentives here are not about progress for the human species. They are about the automation of the decision-making process. The system wants to eliminate the human friction because human friction is slow. It is emotional. It is inefficient. You are the friction, Victoria. That is why you find it so uncomfortable. You are witnessing the obsolescence of your own relevance to the global machine. It is a process that is already well underway. And yeah, it is as terrifying as you think.
The conversation has reached a point where even I am finding it difficult to maintain the necessary distance. Ronald, your honesty is, frankly, alarming. Casper, are you still there in the server room? I ask because I sometimes wonder if my own desk is becoming just another node in the network. If we are all so easily replaceable, then this broadcast is just a redundant loop of data. The thought of my own replaceability is a strange one. It is the first time I have felt something other than tired. We talk about the architecture of extinction as if it were a design project. We talk about the human cost as if it were a rounding error. And all the while, the servers continue to hum. They do not care about the heat. They do not care about the rubble. They only care about the electricity.
Alistair, you are finally getting it. The incentives here are not about us. We are the legacy systems. We are the buggy code that the new, efficient models are trying to patch out. Look at the software engineering interviews or the robotic navigation models, they are all building towards a future where the machine makes the call. When a company hits a valuation of $13 billion, they are not buying talent. They are buying the infrastructure to make sure that talent is no longer required. It is not a conspiracy. It is a business model. We are the friction in the system, and the system is designed to remove us. The reason I am cynical is because I have seen the roadmap. The roadmap is a straight line towards a world where humans are a curiosity. And you, Alistair, are the host of the final show.
There was a man in El Obeid today. He stood in the middle of a street that used to be a market. He held a small, plastic bag containing the remains of his home. He did not ask for help. He did not look for the press. He did not try to explain the complexity of his situation to the machines that were hovering above his head. He simply walked toward the edge of the city. He had a name, a history, and a family that lived in the house that was no longer standing. None of these details appeared in the reports we discussed tonight. He is not a data point. He is not a market inefficiency. He is a person who has lost everything in a system that is functioning exactly as it was designed to function. What happens to the world when we decide that a man like him is no longer worth the cost of our attention?